Opening hook 130. Imagine two people. Both are 55 years old. One still learns new skills, remembers names instantly, makes sharp decisions, and feels mentally alive. The other struggles to focus for 10 minutes, forgets why they entered a room, rereads the same message 3 times, and constantly feels mentally tired. Same age. Completely different brain. Now here's the disturbing part. This difference didn't begin at 50. It began at 30. Right now, silently, your daily routine is either building a powerful brain or slowly aging it decades ahead of time. And the scariest thing, you won't notice it happening because brain aging doesn't feel like damage. It feels like normal life. Part 1, your brain is not fixed. 3500. Most people believe aging is a clock. You turn 40, memory drops. You turn 50, focus weakens. You turn 60, confusion begins. But neuroscience discovered something shocking. Your brain doesn't age mainly because of time. It ages because of use. Your brain is more like a muscle than a machine. Whatever you repeatedly do, it strengthens. Whatever you stop doing, it deletes. This ability is called neuroplasticity. Your brain rewires itself every single day. Every scroll, every conversation, every night of sleep, every hour of boredom or stimulation. You are literally sculpting your future mind with your routine. And here's the danger. Modern life trains your brain for speed, not depth, for reaction, not thinking, for stimulation, not memory. So instead of growing wiser with age, many people are accidentally training their brain to become weaker. Not because they're lazy, because their habits are perfectly designed to destroy focus. Part 2, the attention fracture 5001000. Your brain was built for one task at a time. For 300,000 years, humans hunted, built, spoke, and solved problems with deep attention. Now your brain switches tasks every 10-20 seconds. Notification, scroll, video, message, thought, another video. Every switch forces your brain to release dopamine, the reward chemical. At first, this feels productive. You feel busy, engaged, mentally active. But biologically, something dangerous begins happening. Your brain stops forming long attention circuits. Instead, it builds short burst circuits. And over years, this rewires your frontal lobe, the decision-making center. So later in life, the brain struggles to hold information long enough to store it. That's why people say, I used to read books, now I can't. I forget what I just heard. I can't concentrate anymore. They think age caused it. But often, it was decades of attention fragmentation. Your brain became trained to expect constant novelty. Silence became painful. Thinking became exhausting. And deep focus, the skill that protects the aging brain, quietly disappeared. Part 3, the memory illusion 10001500. Here's a strange modern behavior. You don't remember phone numbers anymore. You don't remember directions. You don't remember facts. Because your phone does. This feels helpful. But your brain works on a brutal rule. If you don't use it, it deletes it. Memory is expensive energy for the brain. So it constantly asks, do I need to keep this, or can I outsource it? When GPS navigates, spatial memory weakens. When search engines answer, recall weakens. When photos store moments, emotional encoding weakens. You still experience life, but your brain stops deeply processing it. Over decades, this reduces hippocampus activity, the brain's memory center. Later, people say, my memory declined with age. But biologically, the brain simply stopped practicing remembering. Just like unused muscles shrink, unused memory circuits fade. The danger isn't technology. The danger is never forcing your brain to retrieve information anymore. Because retrieval is the exercise that keeps memory young. Part 4, the sleep destruction cycle, 15-00-20-00. Nothing ages the brain faster than poor sleep. And modern life quietly destroys it. Not dramatically. Gradually. You sleep 6 hours instead of 8. You scroll before bed. You wake to alarms mid-dream. You sleep with background light. You still function. So it feels fine. But inside your skull, a nightly cleaning system exists. During deep sleep, the brain washes itself using cerebrospinal fluid, removing toxic proteins that accumulate from thinking all day. One of these proteins is beta amyloid, the same substance strongly linked to Alzheimer's disease. Miss deep sleep repeatedly, and the brain slowly fails to clean itself. Not in 1 year, in 20 years. So your 30s determine your 60s. People often think Alzheimer's begins in old age. But scientists discovered something chilling. The biological process often starts decades earlier. The symptoms appear late. The damage begins young. Every night you trade sleep for stimulation. You're borrowing clarity from your future mind. And interest compounds. Part 5, the comfort trap, 20-00-25-00. Your brain evolved for challenge, problem solving, movement, exploration, uncertainty. Modern life removes all of it. Food arrives instantly. Temperature stays perfect. Entertainment never ends. Navigation requires zero thinking. Your brain enters efficiency mode. And efficiency is dangerous. Because a brain without challenge stops upgrading itself. New neurons grow when you struggle to learn. New connections form when tasks feel difficult. Comfort feels good now, but it quietly signals to the brain. No adaptation required. Over decades, this reduces cognitive reserve, your brain's backup capacity against aging. So when natural aging begins, some brains resist. Others collapse quickly. Not because of genetics. Because one brain trained for effort. The other trained for ease. Part 6, the stress paradox, 25-00-30-00. You might think stress sharpens the mind. Short term, yes. Long term, it shrinks it. Chronic stress releases cortisol. In small bursts, cortisol helps survival. But constantly elevated cortisol damages the hippocampus, the memory center. Here's the modern problem. Your brain reacts to emails, deadlines, social comparison notifications, as if they're survival threats. Not occasionally. Daily. For years. So the brain stays in defense mode. And a brain focused on survival cannot invest energy in growth or repair. It sacrifices future clarity for present alertness. You feel productive today, but mentally exhausted years later. Closing 30-00-32-00. Here's the truth most people learn too late. Brain aging is rarely a sudden event. It's a quiet accumulation of tiny habits. The mind you will have at 70 is being programmed right now. Not by big decisions. By small, repeated behaviors. The tragedy isn't that the brain weakens. It's that we unknowingly train it to. And the good news: anything trained can be retrained. In the next part, we'll explore the specific daily behaviors proven to rebuild cognitive strength and why some 80-year-olds stay mentally sharp while others decline decades earlier. Because your future mind isn't fate. It's practice. Recap Transition 0000130. In Part 1, we uncovered a disturbing truth. Your brain doesn't suddenly decline in old age. It slowly adapts to the life you repeat. Fragmented attention weakens focus. Outsourced memory weakens recall. Poor sleep prevents cleaning. Comfort removes growth. Chronic stress shrinks vital brain structures. And all of it begins quietly, decades before symptoms appear. But this raises a deeper question. If daily habits can weaken the brain over 30 years, can daily habits also rebuild it? The answer, according to neuroscience, is yes. But the solution is not puzzles, supplements, or brain games. The real protection against cognitive decline comes from something far more primitive and far more uncomfortable. Part 7, The Novelty Principle 13700. Your brain loves efficiency. Every repeated behavior becomes automated to save energy. That's useful for survival, but deadly for mental longevity. Because the brain only grows when prediction fails. When you drive the same road every day, the brain switches off mapping circuits. When you eat the same food, sensory processing reduces. When you speak the same language patterns, neural activation shrinks. Routine stabilizes life, but it also freezes the brain. Scientists studying aging noticed something fascinating. People who stayed mentally sharp into their 80s were not necessarily more intelligent. They simply experienced more novelty. New skills, new environments, new social groups, new challenges. Novelty forces the brain to form new synapses. Every time you feel slightly confused, slightly slow, slightly uncomfortable, your brain is growing. Every time life feels automatic, it is pruning. The modern world encourages sameness. Same apps, same commute, same conversations, same entertainment style. So the brain stops updating its internal model of reality. And a brain that stops updating begins aging rapidly. You don't need dramatic life changes. You need regular unfamiliarity. Take a different route. Use your non-dominant hand. Learn a new tool. Speak to someone outside your usual circle. Small novelty, repeated daily, signals the brain. Stay adaptive, stay young. Part 8, The Movement Medicine 7001300. Most people think exercise benefits muscles, but the biggest effect happens in the brain. Movement releases a molecule called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as fertilizer for neurons. It doesn't just protect brain cells. It tells the brain to grow new ones, especially in the hippocampus, the memory center most vulnerable to aging. Here's the shocking part. Aerobic activity is one of the few proven ways to stimulate neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, even in adulthood. Not supplements, not mental apps. Movement. When humans evolved, thinking and moving were inseparable. Navigation required walking. Planning required hunting. Memory required exploration. Now thinking happens while sitting. The brain receives information, but no biological signal that the body is alive in a complex environment. So it reduces growth investment. From the brain's perspective, a body that doesn't move doesn't need high cognitive capacity. Movement tells the brain, the organism must adapt, upgrade processing. This is why a 20-minute brisk walk often improves thinking more than hours of passive learning. It's not fitness. It's neurological activation. And over decades, People who move daily build a physical reserve inside the brain itself. Part 9, the deep thinking circuit, 13-00-19-00. There are two modes of mind. Fast input mode, reacting, scrolling, consuming. And slow processing mode, reflecting, connecting, understanding. Modern life trains only the first. But intelligence, especially aging-resistant intelligence, depends on the second. Deep thinking activates the prefrontal cortex and default mode networks simultaneously. This is when the brain integrates memories into meaning. Without this process, information stays shallow. You recognize things, but don't understand them, and shallow information decays quickly. This explains a modern experience. You watch hours of content, yet remember almost none of it weeks later. Because input without reflection doesn't consolidate. The brain treats it as temporary stimulation, not knowledge. Across decades, this creates a fragile mind. Fast reactions, weak reasoning, poor long-term memory. But people who regularly engage in slow cognition, reading, writing, teaching, problem-solving, maintain dense neural connections much longer. The brain ages slower when forced to organize ideas, not just consume them. Thinking is exercise, and most modern minds are informationally full, but structurally untrained. Part 10, the social brain, 19-00-24-00. One of the strongest predictors of cognitive longevity isn't diet, or education, or even genetics. It's social interaction. Real conversation activates enormous portions of the brain simultaneously. Memory, emotion, prediction, language, attention, empathy. No digital substitute replicates this complexity. Messaging reduces emotional nuance. Videos remove participation. Feeds remove unpredictability. Your brain evolved to decode human behavior in real time. Microexpressions, tone shifts, eye movement, unspoken meaning. This constant decoding keeps neural networks active. Isolation does the opposite. When social stimulation decreases, the brain begins down-regulating unused circuits. Over years, this reduces mental flexibility, which is why loneliness correlates strongly with dementia risk. Not emotionally only. Neurologically, a conversation is not just communication. It is full brain activation. And one meaningful interaction daily can stimulate more cognitive activity than hours of passive media. Part 11, the learning threshold, 24-00-29-00. There's a specific feeling most adults start avoiding. Being bad at something. Children experience it constantly and learn rapidly. Adults avoid it and stop growing. The brain strengthens most when performance is around 60–80% successful. Not easy. Not impossible. Challenging. But modern adults optimize life to feel competent. They repeat mastered skills and unknowingly freeze neural development. Learning a language, playing an instrument, practicing a difficult craft. These are powerful not because of knowledge, but because of repeated error correction. Each mistake forces neurons to rewire. Confidence feels good. Confusion keeps the brain young. The tragedy of aging minds is not inability to learn. It's avoidance of struggle. Closing 29-00-32-00. So the brain doesn't only age from damage. It ages from lack of demand. Novelty keeps it adaptive. Movement keeps it growing. Thinking keeps it structured. Connection keeps it active. Learning keeps it flexible. The people who remain mentally sharp aren't protecting their brains. They're constantly challenging them. In Part 3, we'll explore the most dangerous modern habit of all, the one that silently reshapes motivation, memory, and even personality over decades. And why many people feel mentally tired, not because they think too much, but because they never truly rest. Your brain is wearing out. It's being